Mireille Fanon-Mendès France. They try to change the narrative of the racial, of the structural racism, saying there is not anymore racial structural racism, we are not racist. But at all levels of the society, there is the expression of structural racism. And they try to deny that, inventing a new category of people, métis people. And even if they agree to say all of us are coming from Africa, but that's all. Africa does not exist, they don't have culture, they don't have tradition, they just emerged to the modern world when the colonizer arrived. It's terrible. It is exactly what it is in the mind of the people. And it is very deeply rooted in the mind of the people. With people with a Muslim religion is something different, because they cannot invent a new category. They are stigmatized regarding their religion. This, we can say Islamophobia. This Islamophobia is coming from the history of Europe and particularly of France. At the moment, I remember I was a teacher in a school, in literature, in Paris or in the very close suburb of Paris. And a long time ago, or almost 20 years. And if you are aware about who you have in front of you, you could constate more and more young people with migrants or refugee background were in the classroom. And of course, all these people grow up and are now adults, and even their parents. And the profile, the profile of the French population changed, totally changed. And they did not pay attention, and suddenly they discover, oh my God, we are not anymore Souchian roots, French roots, but means white roots, white. I'm sure here in the Luxembourg Garden, if we ask everybody, if we make an inquiry, I'm sure a lot of them have Muslim or Arab surname, given name or whatever. But it's France now. They refuse to see that. And now their only concern is to keep the white supremacy intact. They try to consider these French people, because all of them are French. Of course, they are French. They are born in France, French. At this moment, they can get French citizenship by the flood, by blood, droit du sol, and they have their own. They have their tradition. They are coming from outside of France, and they have their tradition. They came with their tradition, and they refuse the French people, the French government, the different French government, refuse to take in consideration this tradition. They ignore this tradition. They consider all these people, of these French people, not as a French citizenship, but through their religion. They don't think the French population in another way than Christian, white Christian, and with the Eurocentric perspective and Eurocentric culture. They cannot admit that, because they are the first of the world. There is nothing else than them. And they refuse to see this change, and now they are surprised, because all these people are there, they want their place, they want work, they want have a good fun, they want run by, they want live. The Muslim origin is targeted as enemy. And for that, they have very good reason, terrorism. But they don't want to ask who is building the terrorism and for what. They cannot breathe in this country. They cannot breathe. They cannot live. They are not allowed to live. We could do some parallel, but not completely, because the situation for African American, as I know pretty well the situation, as we made a mission, a country visit for the working group of people of African descent, the UN working group. The situation is really more violent and difficult in US. Of course, we have police violence here. We have death of these young people, but not at such level. It's not. We don't have Jim Crow. We never have segregation. I read the book of Michel Alexander, New Jim Crow Law. We don't have such law. Of course, we have some law affecting some part of the society, but not in at such levels than with in US. It's absolutely terrible. Really, it's terrible. In US, there is really against African descent, African American, there is really institutional violence. Here, we cannot say that. We cannot say that. Of course, when they watch a black person in the street, they are suspicious. But they don't arrest systematically. But of course, it's not the reason to not try to build an international movement. Of course, it's not the reason. If we don't defeat the racial racism and therefore the structural racism, we will never get the opportunity for social transformation, because it is the basis of the system. He was a real socialist, not like the socialists are now. Here, he is here, you see? He was smaller than me. Shorter. So, thank you. You see Fanon-Mendes France.